Hey everybody, welcome to the Terrain Studio. I'm your host, Shawn Morris. Today on the Terrain Studio, we're going to actually be working a little bit on the Kashyyyk project. I decided that I'm going to actually bring you guys a live 1 hour in studio build each day. This is actually a Patreon exclusive, but I decided that I would do a little bit of work on here just to drive some interest over there and just let you guys check out what's actually happening here in studio. So I'm going to keep it pretty tight to the 1 hour just in the interest that I do want to keep a bunch of the content over there. But that being said, I want to share some things with you. So let me just show you what I got set up for screens today. So we're just going to be working on finishing up this bed here for one of the small huts, and you can see the actual tree there in the small window. I'm going to be working on the beach, probably get started on that tomorrow or the next day. So if you guys want to know how to do water effects or how to I guess create the base layer for your water effects, that's going to be up. I'll actually pour the resin sometime later. I just don't want to put it down in the risk it can get damaged. But the tree itself will be fitted in. I'll be working on the foam work tomorrow as well. I just wanted to have a soft start here as I finished up some of the more simplistic stuff. So this is going to be very much a work as I'm working a type build, so please don't expect this to be polished tutorials. If you want to check some of those out, I just showed a quick intro clip on that, so you guys can check that out. I will do another. I'll re-show that at the end of the video clip if you're interested in what some of the content looks like. I am going to try to be as interactive with you as possible as well, so I will bring over the mouse and I can actually interact. I got you guys on the big screen so I can interact here. So Tyrone, thank you for checking in from England. That's fantastic. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I will definitely entertain you within the hour. Any question related to this build or other ones related to the Patreon Studio, all that stuff is fair game. That will be, you guys. There we go. Let's swap mics here real quick. That'll just be the big shot. That's kind of what I'm working on. Like I said, I'm just going to finish up some of the base layers for this. I got to do 2 identical huts, and so I'll be working on those over the course of the next day. I'll open up with kind of where I'm going to get, and then hopefully within the hour I can easily finish up some of the stick work here, and then I'm going to try to get the toppers done. I'm using a lot of found objects for this build. As you know, it's really large and out of scale, and so scratch building everything wasn't really going to be conducive. So I spent a long time researching and finding things, doing a lot of searching at different stores, hardware stores, automotive stores, at various places, household objects as well, just to create some of the things for this. I think the build will be pretty fantastic in the end, but you got to have a little bit of a creative mind to get there. So I'm hoping that I can, along this week, this is Kashyyyk week, and we'll get you there hopefully by the end of the week in terms of having a much more conducive Kashyyyk looking, or convincing I should say, Kashyyyk looking table. So I'm not going to waylay this too much because I do want to keep it, like I said, tight within that hour. So let me swap this. I'm just going to go ahead and swap over the microphone as well and then rejoin you over at the table. So I'm going to hot mic that one and we'll excuse me, and we'll hot mic this one. There we go. All right, so I am hoping that you guys can hear me a little bit better here. If you are in chat and you cannot hear me for whatever reason, please let me know. The microphone is boomed above me, but if it's not loud enough, I can certainly do some fixing of that. So what we're going to do here in studio, and I'm just going to adjust this camera a little bit so you guys see a little less at the top of my head, is we are actually going to be working on, and I'll give you an overview of anything that you want, so please let me know in chat if you want to see something or if you want to see the tree, and I can kind of walk you through that. But what we're going to be working on is just getting these 2 base plates done, and we have one that's nearly complete and one that's finished. And what these are for is these are actually going to form the foundations of our hut. So okay, perfect. You can hear me fine. Is the tree going to be able to have units fight on it? Absolutely. And maybe I'll just ask you this question, Tyrone. Have you seen the tree? Because that's the real question, if you haven't. Because if that's the case, I'll maybe pan and show you guys what the tree looks like. Very happy with it. It's a skirmish table. We're going to keep this tight, but we know that the units are coming out for Kashyyyk, so I think this will be really on point and themed well. So just getting back to this real quickly, what we're going to do is use these bowls. I have one sort of ready to sort of show you the final shape using a couple objects. These two are going to sandwich together to make kind of a little bit of a flying saucer. It's got a little bit of a window, and that's sort of the look I was going for. We'll black all that out. We'll make it look real Kashyyyk-ish. And then this is actually not yet just... Okay, I'm not sure if that means you have or you haven't. Sorry, I'm not quite following that comment. This right here is a children's horn. It's referred to as a jumbo plastic horn. It was a little longer. I cut off the mouthpiece, but this replicates quite nicely the roofs if you've ever seen the Kashyyyk huts on the beach. This is going to be affixed to this hut right here. And then what we're going to have sort of from a side profile is that's what the houses are going to look like. And they're going to be nice and tall, roughly around 2 feet in nature. We're going to do 2 of these, and if you have a look at the initial image that I shared and you look on the beach, you can see these houses and they look pretty spot on, I think, or at least this will sell the look. So we're going to do 2 of these and get those matched up so that they kind of resemble the other hut. And if you guys haven't seen the other hut, I'm sure you have, but that's the other hut there. It's not finished yet, but that's the one that we made out of the dog food dish from before. So we're going to get this look here replicated in the other ones. No weathering or anything's been done on here, so we'll show you that. All right, Tyrone, since you're the only one hanging out at present, we'll give you a little bit of an overview. So let me just swing this boom arm back. Just bear with me while I make some adjustments here on this camera. All right, let me just do that, and then I'll give you a little bit of an overview of this tree here. So just pardon me with the shaky cam. I have to adjust my C-stand. There we go. And then I'll adjust this camera for you so you can see this. All right. All right, so let me just rotate this around. You'll see my feet for a second, and then we'll give you a slightly different angle here. There we go. Okay, so this is the actual tree from a few different angles here, and the tree itself, let me just back it up. The tree itself is rather large, and so I'm an adult-sized human next to it. So it's about, I'd say 3.5 feet tall. And you can see here, let me just grab a miniature for scale for you. I think that'll be most conducive. We'll grab, let's grab an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Slide over here. All right, so there is a fig for scale. And so yes, so the platform here, they're going to have an adjoining piece, and then we're going to figure out a way to connect this to the bottom structure. So, and then additionally, there is a platform up here. There's one more right here, and then there is the hut here. The hut can also be removed, and then you can actually play this space and just have a wide open space, and then the hut itself can be relocated to the ground if need be. So definitely going to have some playable space up here as well as down here. And then if you rotate this around, there's another, just a small structure here fixed to there. There's also a bunch of these. There's 3 of these. These will be out in the water, and they'll actually bring the sort of platforms into the table, and they're going to connect to the lower platforms down here. In terms of, like, you'll have a reasonable space to connect them. Use your imagination to kind of connect that space. So that is the answer to your question. They are entirely playable and designed to be as such. And then we may have to house rule a little bit around the moving up and down of this particular space. We could definitely use a climber. It's probably about a height 2 between these two, so that might just need to be something that's house ruled. But that is what the structure looks like at present anyway. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm just going to rotate this back so that I can show you guys what I'm working on again. There we go, and then I'll bring you guys down a little bit so we can get back down. there we go. Perfect. All right, so let me jump back here. So what we're going to do first, like I said, we're going to get onto the table and the foam tomorrow, but what we have to do is we just need to finish up adding these skewers. These are just basically shish kebab skewers or cooking skewers, and I've been using it in this sort of radial pattern to work my way through. I have, I'm just going to turn my hot glue gun on here. You can use it with a variety of types of glue. I just found with the cork, I'm using a cork bed as well. They're really simple to work with. I also like them because they're fairly cheap to purchase, and because they're nice and thick, I can actually sink them into the foam a little bit and still have a little bit of the cork coming up, and then I'm going to put the sand right next to that. So just a nice thick base as opposed to like a small or thin MDF base. Then I have to kind of float it. These ones are actually a little bit thicker. A little bit more robust, and obviously they're quite strong, so they don't flex or flop around. So the like I said, the finished one's right here, and then you guys saw on the tree itself what that actually looks like. So this will just be airbrushed out. We'll get it into a nice sort of brown pattern. I'm probably going to go back and touch some of these up. They've been sitting for a little bit, so I want to just make sure I can color match. I'm not sure if I'll get it perfect or not, but we can always just change or replicate one of those patterns to match. We have a bunch of materials that we're going to add on. This material here is actually just postal paper or stuff that you'd wrap up to send a parcel, and I wanted it to be kind of like torn hide, and so you can kind of see the variation and the variety in there, so that you can replicate sort of a more naturalistic covering, and that goes down through the sides, and I have that pattern all down here. This is just done with a series of inks and washes just to give that pattern. I'm going to go ahead and paint in the black striations. There's kind of like this ribbing that goes around there. I'm actually going to put it in physically with a really thin plastic card and then black that out so it has an actual three-dimensional ribbing on that. We're going to do 3 of these to match. We're also going to use that same sort of material to hide wrap the tops of the roofs, and likewise we're going to do that with the conical horn going up as well. So we're going to bring it up a little bit. I am going to have a section of this that's going to be sort of just a flat plastic material, and we'll paint that out, and then I'll probably wrap some of the ribbing along this as well, just to give it a little bit of a decoration. So okay, what did you say, Tyrone? Yeah, no, agreed. I think that you're going to have to come up with a little bit of an imagination. As I said, this is a skirmish table, so there's still going to be all the playable space. It's just if we want to rule that we can play in the trees, which we want to, certainly it's going to be used to photograph quite a bit of the models, and then we also just basically in studio, I'm just using it for a technique type approach. So make those videos for Patreon so people can just check out cool techniques. Maybe this is not something you're going to build yourself, but you could replicate some of the techniques on a smaller build or build down the road. So okay, so this is, like I said, it's not going to be anything earth-shattering or anything like that, but I think part of the process of seeing how a build goes is seeing all the pieces and all the steps that happen in between. Not everything is glamorous around terrain making, and so my approach is always to overshare, and then you can feel like you're not missing anything. So you can see here what I'm doing is I'm just that's a split one, so that's not good. I'm just dry fitting in this these skewers, and the nice thing about this is, as I said, it's just a radial pattern. It works pretty simple. I just bisected this into quads, and then I bisected each of those by half, by half, by half, by half, and by half again, and then I get down to this final section, these last 3. And I just wedge these in as close as I can. You're getting some sort of uniform pattern here, but then cutting them off at weird angles just to kind of create that sort of variety around the outside edge, just using really thick side cutters to do that. And then it's just going to give you kind of that sort of skewer. The skewer pattern is going to give you a nice sort of almost like a bamboo type feel. And in the end, it's going to look like that with a nice sort of pattern around the inside. So Yeah, that's cool. Jace is usually a regular over here hanging out in the studio, so he's just gonna hang out, lurk. He says, but no, he could in theory he could be over here helping me out right now, but you know, all things COVID. So, all right. So what I'm gonna do is just put this this first string down here. As soon as this is not quite warm enough, I guess. Let's just get in there. I just purchased these this new hot glue gun. I have a previous cordless version. That was nice, but it didn't sit upright, and it wasn't as nice. And so I bought this new Ryobi one, so I've been using it now. It works pretty good. It just takes a little bit longer to heat up, and it doesn't have quite the doesn't have a temperature gauge, so I can't quite regulate the temperature as nice as my old one. So, but it does set upright, and it's more hands-free than the previous one. So. All right, so that we need to do, and then we're also going to, I just have kind of all these pieces half done for you. So this is just like a food dish. I used it for some previous brown paint. It's still fine for what I need it to do. I'm just gonna then glue that into the to the upper portion here. It's very much similar to the one that I have already done in here. And so that it creates the rooftop, and then the other piece, the bowl for the bottom. I got to go grab another blue bowl. But what we're going to do with that is we're just going to glue in this styrofoam piece. This is just a little bit of a denser foam. Not something I typically work with, but they are good for spacers, and they do come pre-cut. And so that's one of the nice things. It's just a known quantity. I don't have to go replicate it. I could cut it on the Proxxon cutter, which would be perfectly fine, and I could do that with ease, but these are convenient and easily available to me. So, all right, looks like we got a drip coming off here, so we can definitely go ahead and put this in. I'm probably just going to apply the glue straight on this piece here. Just it's a little bit easier for me to do that way. There we go. Just going to do that, jam that into place, and then. Based on the fact that a little bit of glue is going to spill out on either edge, I'm going to go ahead and do the neighboring pieces straight away, just so I can wedge them in nicely. I don't really care about how long these pieces are, because I'm just going to use the side cutters to cut those off. And I don't care too much about the excess glue. I want to keep it off the top if possible, but it's just going to create a little filler, and then when I spray the black paint over and then the browns, it's just going to be a little bit easier to cover up the cork. So, and then sometimes the pieces get a little bit loose as you go around, especially when you clip them. So like there, that piece is a little bit loose. I always go back and just do a quick check, and sometimes you just got to re-secure some pieces. So, which is fine. Just stamp it back in, and you're good to go. These will have the huts sitting over them eventually as well, and so that's just going to create a little bit more solidification. So the inside right here, it is not as it's not as thick as this. Like, it doesn't have as much of a pattern. It has some gaps in it, but that actually gets covered, so don't need to worry about that. All right, let me grab another piece here. Just doing a rough approximation of the measurement. How much glue I need. Go ahead and jam that in. There. Yeah, no, this build for sure is definitely about the found objects. It's just because the scale is so exaggerated in this particular build that I found I didn't have to scratch build as much. I was able to find more objects. Now, when I say find, I specifically went looking for dedicated shapes. So, like that little small hut that's hanging off the side of the tree, that's actually that's like a spray bottle, like a cleaner bottle that I just cut into the desired shape. And so that's what that one is. A dog food dish for the top hut. It was what else did I use on this? Oh, the actual platform bases that are on the tree. Those are stove covers, like the metal covers that you put over like the old school like element stoves. And yeah, so that's what those are made out of. These are obviously made out of cork coasters and shish kebab skewers. The rest of the hut's going to be made out of like, I think they're like referred to as like, I think these are like called like picnic dishes, or like they're just like plastic dishes. The just 1 second here, I'll grab them so I can show you the sort of stepping pieces right here. These are actually made out of funnels, and so I just cut the funnel bottom had to be trimmed a little bit, and then the top, what I did is I ended up using another plastic plate, like a mini plate. I put the plate over top like this way, and then I wrapped the whole thing. So every major structure on this tree, besides the tree itself is actually crafted from foam. So I basically built one big block of foam, and then I just carved it from a single piece. So that is not a found object, obviously, but the majority of this actually is. So I think it's a good time to kind of get in if people are like wanting to sort of follow this project. I was working on it for a while, and then I just got some other commission work that I had to do, and then COVID was a thing, and so I got distracted doing all things COVID related. But this week is going to be a full dedicated week, so even if people are only in the Patreon for a month, you can get access to everything. One time monthly fee, and you get everything. But you can at least over the next 10 days or so check out all that cool stuff. So I'll do an hour of work on here, and then a couple hours. Today will be a little bit less, but tomorrow I'll be in studio a lot longer, and I'll be in studio tonight as well. All right, so I'm just going to continue punching away at these. Ask your questions if you got any. If not, I'll just hang out and work with you guys. I'm super excited about getting all the new units that we can feature on the Kashyyyk table. This one, I think I got enough glue squeezed out to the excess. I can. Not quite enough there. It's like one of those steps. It's like it just takes a while to get there, and I did like, I don't know how many skewers each of the platforms. I think I went through like maybe like 8 to 10 bags of skewers. I think they're 100 skewers each. So it's a lot, and you don't use all of them. So I'm just gonna go in here and start trimming some of these out. You definitely don't use all of the skewer, and so you have a lot of material left over. So I'm going to use these to make like bridges and some connecting pieces, some stairs, some ladders, various other elements. So you can see here, I just literally clipped off the tip, right? So I have, I just set those aside, and I have lots of those stockpiled at this point. So just come in and just trim off these excess pieces. And there's no rhyme or reason how I'm doing it. I'm just sort of creating some variety in the pattern. Angling some, making some longer, some shorter. This one here is a touch long. I might just trim that guy a bit because he's a bit out of sorts. There we go. Go. And just set these aside. You got a ton of working material here. Like I said, make great for platforms. People are asking about how am I going to connect these pieces in the future, or how am I going to connect like various levels. So I'm going to build some structures out of these. So I'm going to use some imaginative ability to create a little bit more conducive to Legion design. There we go. Okay, so continue working along here. I'm just going to actually just fill this cavity. I'm going to see if this expedites it at all. Probably should do one at a time, but we'll do a few more here. So jam this guy in there, this guy in there, here. Just careful with your fingers if you're working with hot glue, because you know it's hot and it's sticky. There you go. Just rub the excess off. That works all right, I guess. If you got questions, let me know. I know there's a few people hanging out. I know it'll be quiet as the week goes on. These always are much quieter, but they'll be up. You guys can check them out later. And then I'll do same time. Be 4 my time, 5 central, and if it gets really popular, I'll do some lives for on the Patreon as well. So you guys will, if you guys are on there, you guys can see me a bit more. But it's always fun to hang out, to be accountable for your time a bit. Sounds like I got a little child who was woken up upstairs. Here's some pitter patter running up there. So I'm only going to do an hour in the day, so I don't have to take too much time away from holiday right now. So I want to be hanging out a little bit, do the dad thing, hang out with you guys though as well. This is always the fun part right here, just in case you guys don't know what I'm doing. I'm just letting the pieces go wild. There you go. As long as you keep the stick pointing away from me, you don't have to worry about your eyes. So just make sure nobody's standing next to you when you do it. So, all right, so we're working our way through. We've got a few more to go here. Everything takes a long time in the terrain world. Nothing is quick. Oh, that's nice. That one doesn't even have a point. I expected more from a dollar store SKU. Go, set that one in there. Jam this in. I am looking forward to the foam work tomorrow. It's one of my favorite parts. We're gonna get the beach laid out. We're gonna get the tree sort of sunk into the table as well. I'm not going to attach the tree for some time just because it's a lot easier if I don't have to work around that monster, and I can still work on the tree itself. But the foam's going to come in, and we're going to start laying out the shadow of the beach and kind of what that's going to look like, and that'll dictate where the huts are going to end up, and it'll dictate where we're going to put the leapfrog pads as we have them coming in from the beach as well. So that'll be fun. If you guys are not familiar with working with pink foam or doing any sort of landforms, we're going to do that. Then we're going to get into some Sculptamold. Get the beach and kind of get that contour laid in as well. We want to make sure that we got a nice slope coming in, and then we can figure out where our sand and where our transition to our sort of husk ground. I'm going to do the ground very similar that I did on the Scarif display, and we're going to use sawdust to form the bulk of our groundwork. So if you guys have not worked with that before, that might be of interest to you as well. So you guys can check that out. The tutorial versions of all that will be filmed. It's hard to do a full tutorial when I'm just sort of spitballing and working. So as I said, these will be far less polished than the tutorials. I just released a couple free tutorials as well, so you guys can check them out on the channel. I think September's is up or will be. October's is already up. So you guys can see that if you want to. Check it out. So I'm working with stone or making stone out of foam, and then the other one is on doing sort of fall scenes, just kind of using leaves and mud mixed together. And I just actually did a mud tutorial, making mud roads for this month or March. They come out at the end of the month, just so you are aware. Alright, we got 5 people hanging out. I mean, at the very least, if you guys do jump into chat, maybe just throw your name in there so I know who was here. That's always cool. Jason here. Tyrone was in here. Go. Fun times. I am going to just quickly go and grab another pack of skewers if you give me a few seconds. I'll be right back. Go, another pack of skewers. Open this up. Set that garbage aside. Yeah, so we're on like, I don't know how many packs of these, like 10 or 12 packages I think so far we've used on the project. Don't need that many more for this. Let's set a few out. And just keep your packages because then you'll put all your basically depointed ones over there. So. All right. So here, make sure I didn't miss any. Oh, sorry, I missed your other comment, Tyrone. What unit am I most looking forward to? I don't know. I'm pretty excited about the snail tank, to be perfectly honest. I think we'll definitely incorporate a snail tank into this. We may actually even do one destroyed snail tank, and then one, I think what I'm going to do rather, is I'm going to actually put a line coming out. I'm going to have a fluttercraft or 2 actually suspended above the table, so permanent structures. And so they'll just be in the way when players are playing, but they'll be in a fashion that they won't necessarily be too problematic. So. Yeah, just 1 second. I'll answer your question there. I just need to go grab another battery. I guess this one wasn't too charged. And then I'll answer your question about segmented pieces here while the glue gun is warming up. I might not even actually need it. It might be okay, just with the residual heat. That. If I work quickly here, I can probably get these all in. So just when you're putting these in and you're and when I'm doing it like this, what I have to do is I just have to make sure that I am putting the points equidistant from each other. I don't want to jam it in too much because it skews the pattern over one way or the other, and I want it to avoid that. So hence why I'm just sort of paying attention to where that middle one goes. Basically just pick the point where the middle guy goes, grab the other 2 adjacent ones, and then just walk them in backwards so they land in the right space. Give them a hold for a second. It's not usually too much of an issue, but because I'm doing them all at the same time, the middle one doesn't have a chance to set up and hold. It's still fluid. So, all right, we'll give that a second. All right, what is your question exactly? It says, how hard would it be, or would you say, making a board like this, like you're doing, and having it in segments? Yeah, good question. So typically, a lot of the tables that I make are in 2x2 sort of magnetic sections. So, and the reason 2x2 is there's a specific tile design that I have where it gives you 1.5 feet of playing and then 6-inch trough along the side. It's actually recessed and set it down slightly, so you can have your cards and units and they don't migrate onto the table. But if you're going to do it, let's say you're going to do a 3x3, something like this. I think you could do it quite nicely. You could either do a hinge on the backside so you can take all the elements off, like modular pieces, and then fold it together. But if you're going to do something like a fixed piece, like I typically do, they don't store exceptionally well. However, there's nothing wrong with sort of leaning them or setting them up against the side. Something like this ginormous guy right here is not going to lend very well. Let me just swap back to my other. Let me just go to this one here. Yeah, so this right here, because it's so tall, it's not really going to lend well to storage. One of the things you could do, if you had a big piece like this, this is going to be sunk into a 1/2-inch piece of foam down here. I could just leave a hole and then have this more of a plug and play. So pull this out and then put this in, and then this would be relatively flat. I could leave the huts as modular pieces. Maybe these little guys right here are like plug and play. They got a great big dowel on the bottom, so maybe they just push in and then they could pull out. So if you were to do your design with the intention that you needed to store it in your loft, then what I would do is change around some of the creative elements in terms of how they affix on here. You could have some dowel rods on the bottom of this, and then it could just slot into your MDF. As I said, these could be slotted in, the huts could be modular. For me, I'm going to work them all in just because I feel the natural elements fit in a little bit nicer when I don't have to worry about like leaving things sort of more modular in design. Now, that being said, there's 2 camps on this, and I am solidified in one camp that I do not think that a static table is a static game and will create a static game. I just don't subscribe to that. However, there are people who want to have everything modular and want to change it around every single time. I think because I work on such a variety of projects and then they get sent off, this one's actually a studio project unless it gets sold. It's going to stay here for a while. But that being said, we got the Imperial Terrain Kickstarter table over there. We've had it, we've played a ton of games on it, and it absolutely has never like dissolved into the same game over and over. So I wouldn't say that's a piece, but I do think that the way you design your table and how you build your table is definitely going to be personal to your usage, and that should determine a lot of how it looks and how it goes together. That doesn't mean that you can't have some static elements and some removable pieces, or if you have a corner of a room where you can dedicate to this setting up, great. Not everyone's going to build a 3-foot tree. This piece is a pretty exaggerated piece and not really something you're probably going to see on many Legion tables. But if you keep your elements to kind of that height 1, height 2, you can probably have that stuff easily removed, stored, and have a relatively flat board. So it's a long answer to basically say it's completely up to you. If I was going to do it, I would either find a dedicated space for it, or probably just go 100% modular and not try to find a balance between the two. If I have a choice, which I do, I have a large studio space here, so I can store a lot of things, and because I don't usually have to store that much, and because they get sent off when they're done, I guess I have the luxury of being able to store a rather large piece. So that is my answer to that. I think most people basically make modular tables and they take their pieces off and they store it, and they have either a mat or a flat piece. And for our tables that we use here for like Friday night fights, we typically just put modular terrain on top of mats because we don't want to leave something set up all the time. This is not my usual workspace. I'm in the film space, but I'm just doing that because I'm doing some live streams. Typically I will have this in a much more, oops, that one went really far, in a much more conducive builder space. But I can still move this around the studio with relative ease as well. So, all right, so we've managed to actually get something done. I'm not sure how many minutes in we are, but here we are. I think I was about 10 minutes or so. So I got about maybe 20-ish, 30 minutes left on the build time. But now we have two base plates. Now we don't need to do anything in terms of painting with these right now. That stuff I'll do in the spray booth and get all that done later. Update that on the Patreon. You can kind of see. I'll just do maybe some still shots as you can see the progress as we get through on that. They'll end up looking very much like these ones, that kind of dark-esque look. So what we need to do next is we need to start setting up the bottom or the tops, whatever you want to call them. These pieces right here, this bowl is going to need to get trimmed. One bowl has the rim on it, and then one bowl does not. And as I said, I needed to grab another bowl, which I didn't. So let me grab that. You'll also see why I don't usually build in the film space, because I have to keep running over to the actual workspace. But here we go. So we have another bowl, and we're going to start real simple with this. One we want to leave with the rim on it. One we want to leave with the rim without. And so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut this rim off. And all we're going to do is run a knife, and we're going to take this rim off here. So using a sharp knife, I'm just going to first run this around and score it. Make sure I'm not missing any more chat comments. Put your questions in chat or let me know that you're here. Say hello. All right, so I'm going to go back down around now. I'm just going to push a little bit more pressure on this. And you guys would be surprised how economical this build is. Sometimes the builds are small and super expensive, just like whatever I'm using, the LED lights, or maybe the particular plastic card, or yeah, maybe textured plastic card. Or the plant elements, or the resin. Like the resin will be the most expensive thing on this whole project, just because it is just overly expensive to do the water feature. Could you just paint the water in? Absolutely. So if you don't want to do any poured resin, then that is certainly an option. You can keep the cost way down, but like to build these huts is going to be like maybe $4 to $5 per hut. Now time in more, of course, and so if you count for hours, then well, if you're unless you're doing commission work, just don't figure out your own hours, because it'll suck all the enjoyment and the rationale behind why you're doing it. So don't do it just for that. All right, so I have managed to cut all the way through this. I got one little spot over here that is being stubborn. There we go. Oh, I got two spots that are being stubborn. There we go. All right, awesome. Probably not going to use this, but I'm just going to set it aside just in case that I do. So now I have two identical pieces, but this one is sitting a bit higher, and that's important because that's actually going to create my separation between the huts and kind of give me that saucer look. And the reason I'm going for that is when I looked at the design, there is kind of like this little space, and I don't know if that's the equivalent of like their windows or their venting or how that all works. But and on that point too, it's quite important for me to point out that while I've done a lot of the tree work at this point and put a lot of the foliage and stuff in there, there's so many more sort of industrial elements that I haven't done. There's the number of chimneys and sort of exhaust ports and things that come off on here. And so that's all going to be worked in, and I also have to do a bunch of moss work on this, and that is actually going to be a base of another tutorial, which I will show you the sample piece. I'll grab that as well. Tyrone has a question. What is the difference between experience resin and cheap resin. I'm not 100% sure. There's a number of types of resin. The resin that I have, you can get like resin for like pouring resin tables and buy it in larger quantities. It's a little bit difficult sometimes to get stuff shipped to Canada. Like most of the companies I have found won't actually ship. I don't know if it's like just a border thing, or if it's like a toxicity thing, or just the postal company won't want to handle that. So I end up using AK Interactive resin. I get their largest resin kit. They're about like $50-$60. It does maybe just short of 2 cups of resin. So while I know it's probably not the cheapest stuff, it does set up. It's relatively easy combined. There's no mixing. It comes pre-measured out in terms of that. So I think there's some ease and some cost associated with the ease, but I don't think there's really a bad resin you could use. I would just make sure that you check it out, and before you go spend a bunch of money buying like 4 gallons worth of resin, which while probably economical in the sense that you goes a long way, I don't know if the average user needs that much. So I think the little resin kits are nice, and if you've never used it before, starting small and having maybe a more expensive experiment. But in the end, I think that let me just put this another way. I guess I'm trying to say this, that it's more expensive, you get a smaller quantity, but the ease of use is there. So getting a large quantity that's maybe cheaper, that you screw up a bunch, isn't necessarily going to be the best experience either. So that resin works fine. There's a number of products you can use for water effects. You can use easy water, which is kind of like a melting bead. It's not actually that easy to use. You can use realistic water, which is a pour feature. The only problem with that one is I find that the setup time and the dry time on it's pretty exceptional. And it also is subject to like having fingerprints put into it afterwards. And it's self-leveling, but it doesn't necessarily level as nice as the resin. I find the resin self-levels the best of all my experience. So there's a number of products you can use. I would suggest starting with a cheaper resin, smaller quantity, see if that's what you like. And if you like that, then you can extrapolate higher or just replicate buying the same product. I'll tell you this, I just buy the same expensive one every time because I know what product is going to do. I know what the results are going to look like. So for me, the non-headache result is worth the extra dollars. That's my tip on that for you. So check that out, the AK Interactive. They sell 2 sizes, so they do sell a cheaper one as well. So, which is about, I think maybe like 2 cups, if that's a quantity is correct, maybe a little bit less. All right, so what I need to do now is I need to glue in this piece. I glued this one in before with contact cement. I'm going to swap over and just hot glue it in, just because it doesn't really matter if the glue shows, as long as the glue doesn't melt. The blue, I think, will be fine. So I'm going to go there. Just going to go swap my battery, and I will show you guys what the moss looks like as well, the moss sample. All right. Yeah, that's exactly, I like that, Tyrone. That's exactly my approach to that. If it ain't broke, I'm not willing to switch up. So I was thinking about using some top boat resin. It's for tables. It's just I'm not sure about the shipping on it, because it seemed to be an extraordinary amount of shipping to get it here. So hey, Christian's hanging out. So this right here, if you guys are able to see that, this is the new moss technique I've been experimenting with. So if I hold it in profile, you can see that it's definitely 3-dimensional. It's a mix of products together. I can give you the recipe when I do the tutorial. But the best part about it is that it's absolutely rock hard. It retains a nice shape. It's got a real lush look to it, but it's so robust for like gaming purposes that I feel really confident in its standing up and not sort of breaking off. So like nothing's shedding off of it. It can go over multiple surfaces. It has enough stick that I can sort of put it over these uneven surfaces when I'm applying it. So yeah, it's just something I've been experimenting with. I really like the look of it. I think it's going to look good on the tree. You guys can see here, I'm just going to sort of layer that over and around and onto the platforms and have it creepy crawly all over. So that is going to be subject of a tutorial coming up as well, just how to make that, just a little bit of a homebrew mixture. And I think you guys will get some use out of that, whether it's in a project like this or something down the road. So all right, I'm just going to let that glue gun set up. I'm going to do that, and then the other one I'm going to do is just gluing this piece in place. So again, this is just a plastic dish, Sunday dish-ish, and it's designed to give a little bit of elevation in the top of the roof. So I'm just eyeballing all this stuff. I can sort of line it up in the middle if I want to. I have a center point marked, and I might just do that here. I just use my knife as a little bit of a drill here. It's going to crack the bottom of the dish, but that's okay. I just need to get that center point. There we go. And then all I have to do is just grab a skewer, poke it up through the bottom of this, like so, and then line up the dish on the center as well. There we go. And then when I go to put the glue in, I can just use that to line the two of them up, and then it will stick it down, and we'll know we'll have it in the center. This right now, Christian, is just for the studio use. I'm just building it because I want to photograph a bunch of the new units that are going to come out, and we want to use it for our filmed battle reports on Friday nights. So I'm just making it as a funsy project. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just line this guy up and just get this as level as I can. Just tricky. I'm just sorry, I'm just eyeballing this just off camera here if you guys can't see me doing that. There we go. Hold that in place. I'm going to take my glue gun and I'm just going to tack it. I'm just using just little squirts along the way here. Hold that a minute. Let that solidify. While it's doing that, just kind of restructure that. Ooh, those sides heat up like crazy. There we go. Okay. All right, let's let that solidify. Not sure if I dropped any hot glue down there or not. All right, set that aside for a second. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we'll glue this in place. So we'll just do a little bit of a glue around here. So it's going to get real hot real fast. I want to get a good amount on there. Grab my skewer, as I said. Stick that up through the bottom. This is just going to help me align this. Figure out where the center is. If I can find the middle here. There we go. Alright, got the middle. Take the skewer out and just press that down. We'll let that press and hold first, and then we'll add a little bit of glue just to solidify that, if need be. That's a quick hold. Nice. Okay. We got hanging out with this. We got a few people. All right, so then that guy's in place, and like I said, I used contact cement to do this one. Hot glue, you guys see me do it. It's the same result. We have two identical pieces. They work good. So this is not how we're going to put them together, but I just wanted to show you kind of what we have on here. You can see that even the plastic isn't necessarily super uniform. Don't panic with this stuff, because you're making like like huts, and so it's not like this is going to be like imperial precision. And so if you got a bit of variety here and there, that's fine. If your skewers aren't all let's see, it's skewer tips missing right here. If you have a little bit of variation, it's only going to add to the variety of it. It's not gonna take away. It's pretty hot from the build. So not being precise on this particular one. If I'm doing something else, I'm scratch building something, and I need to have like two sides to be identical or something like that, then you'll see me use a ruler. But you haven't seen me use a ruler for anything right here, so I haven't been that worried about the uniformity. I think in the end it's going to look pretty good. I'm not going to go ahead and attach this yet because of course I got to do all the painting, but just so that you know, that's going to end up going on there. And then what we're going to do with these, I think this guy's solidified enough. Yeah, it's fine. We are going to attach those on here as well. Again, I'm not going to attach these yet either. The reason being is I actually want to black out the insides just so I don't have that bright blue shining through, and I don't have any of the white shining through either. Another reason why I used this foam here, it's not going to actually be deteriorated when I hit it with a spray can versus some of the pink or some of the other foams, which will have the aerosol eat through that. So I'll go ahead and spray those out with just a cheap rattle can, likewise with the inside, and that will all be blacked out there. One of the nice things about this is you're going to still have a lot of a natural light to be able to see through here. So the center will be black. It'll be kind of like that, but you'll still be able to see through either edge, and that'll be kind of cool in terms of eye level and model level interactions. All right, so we got those two. They're ready to go together once we do that. The other thing that we're going to do is end up attaching these onto here. But again, I'm not going to do that yet either. We're going to kind of wind down the build here. But the other things that I need to do on camera are lay in the first layer of the parchment paper there. And the reason being is I want to have that run up, and then I want to have the seams finish up on the top, so that when I put the cone over, the cone's got a nice round edge already incorporated into it. It's going to go over that, and then the seam is going to be hidden. There'll be no seam on the paper other than the seams that I create by the torn hide pieces. Then what I'll do is I'll solidify that. I'll glue this down, and then I'll be able to airbrush this entire piece right here and get a nice conducive look. So let me just grab these two real quick. We'll do a dry fit here. We'll kind of talk about, I'll end off by talking about the foam work that you'll be seeing some of tomorrow. I will be starting that tonight and get some updates on Patreon. So, and the reason I say that is I got to make sure that people are getting their value out of there, not to hide it from this, not to hide it from the public. But that's kind of how the world goes around here. It's how I keep the studio functioning. So please don't think that I'm trying to keep anything from you. So let me just go ahead and slide this into place, and I'll kind of maybe what I'll do is I'll switch cameras here, and I'll go to a little bit more of a wide camera there, and then we'll put this one up on screen for you there. There we go. Okay, so when we're looking at the build itself kind of in its entirety, the beachfront, if you will, the beachfront is going to see you later, Kashyyyk. The beachfront is going to kind of run here, and you can sort of see where I've loosely got it laid out. I don't want to have a lot of water, and you're going to play the table primarily like this, although in skirmish you can rotate it around, but I only wanted the beachfront to be on one side of the table. The tree itself is going to have this small hut sort of extending or protruding out over the beach, and I'm going to keep the perimeter of the table just inside here. So if ever I need to build a crate for shipping, it'll be nice. The whole thing will fit inside. Now, with that being said, we have lost a little bit of real estate where the huts are right here. However, the beach is going to come up. This is going to be kind of the water line. And then the beach itself is going to protrude well into the table. And so that being said, these will be probably about a ½ inch higher. For sure a ½ inch higher. So they're going to sit right there. So one hut's going to go there, and then one hut's Probably going to set right on the edge and be really close to there. So it's going to be quite a tight place, which is fine. I want the table to look quite cluttered, to be perfectly honest. I want you to be envision that you're kind of living in the world. Then these pieces here, pardon that sound, these are going to extend out in the water. Now, it's not necessarily going to be this tall. I just left these this long so I had some room to maneuver, but one is going to be right out in the water and probably be pretty close to this hut. So that's going to go there. The next two are going to go here, and they're going to follow a pattern. So we're going to have this sort of stepwise fashion come in. So one might be a bit lower, one might be a bit higher, but that's going to go there. This one is going to go here so that you have an ability to either simulate or create a bridge or emulate a jump between here and here. And then the other one is going to come right in here at the edge, again, just bringing you in from the beach and having lots of platforms. So this one's going to, in theory, end up in a deployment zone, which will be much more conducive to play. And so you can actually deploy units on top of this to start, and potentially this one as well on the leading edge. So that is going to be kind of our look that we have coming in from there. So sort of this offset look. Then we're going to do two corners back here. This one's going to be kind of like foresty. We're going to bring some rock type elements into this corner, and then we're going to replicate that in that corner so that we have some symmetry to the table. Beach, beach, rocky trees, some platforms coming in here. So structural, two platforms equidistantly placed in the middle, and then at the top again, one here, one here, one here. So we're getting some sort of symmetry to the table. But as you can see, if you're looking from camera in here, it's going to have a pretty interesting front in the sense that you're going to have multiple platforms, you're going to see some huts, you're going to have the nice waterfront here, and then the sand sort of protruding in. And then of course you got this small focal point that is the tree. So there you have it. That's kind of like the Kashyyyk project sort of brought up to speed. We got a lot more to lay down. We're going to do the moss effects. The hut itself is nearing completion. It's not fully done, but I did do a tutorial on how I did the roof coloration. You can see it's quite dark. There we go. And just how I did the sort of subtle weathering effects on that. And then we'll bring that into line with everything else, and then we'll add a bunch of other stuff. So, so are you going to put any of the barracks like in the movie? I'm not 100% sure I know what the barracks look like. You could always just maybe do a Facebook tag of an image if you found it. I hadn't thought too much more about structures just because I'm already running out of real estate in terms of space. One of the things that I did think about doing is possibly bringing in some trench lines here on the backside, and so incorporating a few of the trench works and maybe having that sort of cut into the rocky section. So that's to be determined as I kind of get the flow of this table. I think that will start to dictate some of it. I have a bunch of vine work to do as well, bringing draping vines down. I have those done as well, the samples. Let me grab that real quick. Let me just switch back here before I end off the video. I'll switch back to the close cam. Oh, gotcha. Barricades? Yes. So I gotcha. The barricades, I actually have a set of those getting 3D printed. Just because I wanted to make sure I get the look just right. They'll actually be probably the only modular elements. I will probably incorporate one or two into the beachfront, but probably have one or two that can be moved just in case the table actually gets rotated and played from other directions, just to add some barricades on there, because I do want the barricades to be very Kashyyyk-esque in nature. So I talked about the moss tutorial. That's going to be upcoming, and then I also wanted to show you guys this. This is actually the samples that I've made for the vines. So if you guys are able to see those, and you'll see that they are actually quite rigid in nature as well. And so this is actually made of twine, and then I've incorporated the exact same moss look or moss effect into these. And so these will be draped down from the tree itself. I'll have obviously some cascading and some rope-like effects, but hopefully you guys can see. Let me just bring that up there. You can see the look. I was quite happy with how these turned out as well. Just another experimental technique that I've been working on to kind of create some. It's really, if I can get it really tight. There we go. You guys can see there's actual like ligaments in the vines themselves, and so they really, to me, they really represent the look. So I think they'll be cool when they start hanging down and dripping down from the trees and sort of joining one piece to the other kind of thing. So this, in addition to the industrial chimneys and vents with the vines sort of intertwined with them, I think is going to really create a unique look as well. So stay tuned for all that. All that's coming. So if you guys are hanging out over the next 10 days, I'm going to do a section each day for you guys. I'm going to just jump back to my computer here, finish this off. Yeah, thank you, Tyrone. I appreciate that. All right, so let me just jump back here in front of the camera, and we'll finish off that session. So whatever it is I'm working on, like I said, it was just a soft entry today. I just wanted to finish up that little bit of bamboo work that I needed to do. So it's ready. I'll black out the insides. I'll get that all solidified. So you guys may see me doing some of the hide work, or I will definitely be on the foam work tomorrow as well. So I'll bring you some of the foam work because I think the concept will come more strongly when you guys are able to see that visual. So do appreciate that. I do appreciate anyone hanging out, and if you can help spread the word, give a link, share it out. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube page, definitely go do that. That's free. There's no cost for that, so you guys can check that out. Follow me on Facebook, theterrainstudio.com, and if you are inclined, go check out the Patreon. I do appreciate that. $5 gets you every video that I've ever made on there, and it gets all the future content as well as all the behind the scenes, the paint guides, all that other stuff that comes out. I do appreciate that. It's $5 is a lot to ask from people. I understand that, especially present times, but I do appreciate it. It makes me work harder for you guys when I got more and more people that look forward to that content each week. So I will catch you guys tomorrow, 5 Central, and I will leave you with this month's trailer for Mud, or I guess it's called March Mudness. So it is last month's, this month's tutorial. You'll have another one at the end of April. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.